If I choose to smuggle myself, then that's not trafficking, but if I'm forced to, forced smuggling is trafficking.
Yes, so smuggling is if I come to the border and I pay a coyote a certain amount of money, that gentleman or lady or young boy takes me across the border, drops me at a road where I've already made contact with my relatives, they come along in a van, I jump in the van and we're gone. That's smuggling. Trafficking is where the coyote is part of a gang that takes me across, takes me to a certain place, the gang controls me.
If the victim does not have control over their documents, their passport, then it's trafficking. And so that's been something that's been clarified in recent legislation that helps prosecute traffickers, because they're not at will, they don't have the freedom to come and go if their passport is being kept.
A lot of people don't seek help because whoever's holding them captive also threatens to kill them or threatens to kill the family.
I just had a question. She was trying to go down the list. Okay, there was force, yes, there was fraud, yes, there was coercion, but it's force, fraud, or coercion. It's not all three, right?
It can be all three. It can be all three.
But if it's one thing, it's also trafficking, right?
Yes. If it's just one, it's trafficking.
We are a faith-based organization, and our model is Christ's example. Oasis' vision is for included communities, where everyone has a voice, everyone is participating in the fullness that God has created them to be. Out of that has developed this traffic-free community model. Part of that is the recognition that we weren't meant to live life on our own. We're meant to live in community. Part of our job, we believe at Oasis, is strengthening that community and bringing in those who are marginalized, those who are on the outside, back into community. There's a prevention aspect of that as well as the here and now. In Pasadena, we've used that as an example a lot because of the unique circumstances of Pasadena and the large number of kids in foster care. Really, for Pasadena, they've identified that as a key space where they can engage, where they can strengthen the community, and it's more from a prevention side.
Traffickers operate where there's poverty, where they go in, some cases saying, okay, I can get your child a better job. Poverty. There's also environmental disasters, earthquakes. You think of Haiti, that happened in Haiti, we think of rescue agencies going in, we forget that traffickers operate in that area as well. And some of those things don't affect us, but they also operate in communities that are apathetic or disengaged. So there's a grooming that can take place in schools, there is businesses that can start within our communities. We may notice something's going on, but it really doesn't register. And also where community, this girl who was trafficked in LA, the reason she was trafficked, you could call her farmed, from South America, was because it cut down the cost of the food that we buy. As we engage more with our communities, so it's more difficult for a trafficker to operate. We're all linked together. It is far more difficult for the trafficker to operate within our communities because everybody is aware of this issue. And it hits our pocketbook as well as the way we live and as well as the way we communicate that, because some people won't want to know that because it means change for us.
Traffic-free communities, TFCs, they're community-led initiatives. It's a local group. Our job is to mobilize, it's to engage, educate, advocate, to train groups of individuals from within the community to know where the gaps are, where are their vulnerabilities, where do they step in, where do they use their resources, their collective power to engage key stakeholders within the community and the collective power that's there on behalf of those who are suffering, those who are victimized, those who are marginalized. So we've talked before about the abuse of power. This is using the power for good.
We mentor and we're interrelated. We don't say this is the way you have to do it, or you've got to move in such a way. We work together and learn from a collective kind of understanding and insights that we all have.
They are also stakeholders that every one of us are a part of in some way. And when we think about the life of a person who's been trafficked, each of these play a part in their life in some way. The model that we use is saying, where can these stakeholders be doing more? Where can they be using their voice and their power for good in a way that transforms not just the individual lives of someone, but the community as a whole? The idea, too, that if we're working together, the community is strengthened as a whole. And that's kind of the circle, the visual model there that's intentional. The community serves more as a protector, as a supporter, as an advocate for the individuals, particularly those who are more vulnerable. Schools, consumers, businesses, faith communities, media, the local legislatures, first responders, and law enforcement. First responders actually are often the very first point of contact that a trafficking victim may have with someone outside of their trafficker. The media has a lot to say. Our images, our ideas of sexuality, of what's going on in our world, locally as well as globally, issues of immigration and how it gets talked about, the messages that are sent through the videos, the movies we watch, television, what's reported and what's not reported in our newspapers. Social media, we have a voice in this more than we ever have before. So how do we use our space in media to talk about what's going on? Facebook, Twitter, all of these things can be used for good or bad. Nurses, doctors, dentists, ambulance workers, EMS workers, but even maintenance workers, as Kevin said, that's a great example of someone that a trafficked person that might be their only outside contact with the world. So how do we equip, engage, and train them, mobilize those sorts of resources within our community? Say you have several nurses and doctors, maybe that's a place that you zero in on and make sure that nurses, hospitals, clinics in your neighborhood, that they have this training. You can learn that. You can get those resources from us, from Rescue and Restore. We can walk with you in that, and you can start providing trainings for doctors and nurses on these issues. So those are some of the things that a traffic-free community can do. Sometimes we look at these stakeholders and think, I really don't fit into any of those. But even if the only place you fit in, we're all consumers. The relationship between consumers and businesses is something that we all can play a role in, and we really have a voice in asking for what products we can buy, what products are available. It's easy sometimes to think, well, I'm not purchasing I'm not using someone unfairly, not paying them for work. I'm not engaging a sex trafficking victim. But we all are buying coffee, sugar, tea, clothing. These are commodities that someone is paying the cost for. That's something that we just really want to challenge everyone to consider today. When we talk about fair trade products, that's something too that churches, schools can really start making some pretty basic changes. What coffee do you serve at your church? What sugar, tea, chocolate? I really encourage you to think about the products that you're buying and how we all play a role in